I'm the mystery one. You're listening to the sound of Drums Radio. This afternoon, we are joined by none other than one of electronics music's true originals. He's a pioneering artist from the Central African Republic. He's the founder of Ancestral Soul. He's one of the only producers to to have a sound that encapsulates a whole continent. He is the one and only Boddhi Satva. He's a living legend. And, today he's here. We're going to talk about his single for Antonella Koji's Uncover Music, a collaboration with Idd Aziz. I'd like to welcome you, the one and only Boddhi Satva. Good afternoon, Boddhi.
Good afternoon, Don. How are you doing?
I'm very well. It's nice to see you as always.
Likewise indeed, likewise indeed.
Thank you, sir. New music on the horizon.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh gosh, it feels as though, your history and your time in the music business is so productive. Sometimes it feels like you just don't know where to start. So why not let's just start at the beginning?
Yes, absolutely.
Who is Boddhi Satva and what does he do?
Well, Boddhi Satva is a producer, DJ, as of late, a content creator, podcaster. Due to the whole, COVID-19 pandemic that, took us by surprise. We had to, review certain things. And overall, I look at myself as a learner, so I'm, musician, producer, DJ, label owner, podcaster, as I said, YouTuber, crypto and NFTs enthusiast. Just some of the things that I'm touching on, and really, really into progress and understanding the constant and rapid changes of the internet, forcing us to adapt and try to a certain extent, lead the curve.
Well, wow, that was a lot. So we can just say that Boddhi Satva is just an all-round creative.
Absolutely, we can definitely say that. Yes.
and someone that has adapted to changing times. What more could you ask for from an artist? An artist
Sure.
that's going to grow with the times. It means that not only will we be celebrating your music of yesterday, but there's a long future of music to come that we'll be celebrating as you grow
Absolutely.
with the times. So which takes us on nicely. Your music, it feels really personal.
Yes.
It's like a real personal expression of your character and your identity. So I'd like to ask, what impact has your upbringing had on your creative expression? Because as I said, your songs feel as though they're a snapshot in time of your history.
Absolutely, you definitely need it. I think that's really what it is, and also my ongoing and continued experiences in life. I think as humans, if we stop evolving, we stop learning, or we feel content with what we have in terms of education and in terms of tapping into being educated by where we come from, because also that's something very important. I think a lot of people are very satisfied with the status quo or what they think they know, but a lot of the time we don't know much. Understanding the history of our parents, understanding the history of our families, the history of the countries, the cities, etc., etc. Not everybody's inclined to look into these kind of things, but I think it adds to the value of your art, because it also transpires in your heart when you're able to bridge the experimental aspects of life with the concrete manifestation of it through artistry, whatever that might be, whatever form that might take for you. So definitely, my birth in Central African Republic to my bringing there until I was 18 years old, and my need to stay connected with my roots and understanding the necessity to keep a good balance between obviously understanding my birthplace and also learning to appreciate the wealth, but also the limitations that may come with my cultural mix and also my blood mix. Because I'm very well aware that mixed childs are usually very, very conflicted. Being a mixed child myself, with black father, my father was mixed race, my mother is white. So there was a lot of soul searching, right, and understanding where I would fit in that whole picture. And thankfully, I was never um, unfortunate to meet people that made me feel any other ways but myself and part of the community I was in. So as a kid, I was rarely made felt as if I was, or rarely or barely made felt as if I was, if my skin color meant anything really. So because yeah, I mean, there's different factors that come into this. And I think learning overall to be a chameleon and learning how to adapt in the environments you're in, and learning about the environments that you're about to get in or that you're part of, and trying to really blend in without being absorbed by the whole thing, so you can maintain your personality. And I think that's really really hard to develop overnight. But one has to be willing to learn. One has to be willing to go through the pain of finding themselves, because it's a painful process.
Yeah. So, talking about finding yourself, and I think that is the thing that separates your music from some others, because it is real. It is the essence of Boddhi Satva. How have you found that kind of true artistic expression, that has left you exposed in some areas, and has that had any kind of negative impact on you coming up through the ranks of your career?
I mean, to a certain extent, yes, we can definitely say so. But for the most part, it's been embraced. It's been embraced. It's been looked at as a quality more than an imitation. To be quite sincere. But of course, anything that's different eventually will not necessarily. Well, we can definitely say that anything that's different will not necessarily get the love it deserves at the time you may want it, but it will eventually get its flowers. And you know,
Well, I
it
think
takes time to build good things.
yes, and you've said it before. What's real always shines through. What's done with love and passion, and truth and honesty, will always float to the top.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'm hoping that you're getting your flowers already.
Well, to a certain extent, I am. But the truth is that I think for a long time I was looking to get my flowers a lot more, because I was very frustrated with the turn of certain events in the industry, and how some were getting their flowers and I wasn't, because
Okay.
for whatever reason. But the truth is that I think looking back, the main reason why I started making music was for healing purposes.
Okay.
Music was very much and has always been and will always be a healer for me. Arts in general will be a source of healing for me. So yes, of course, I'm very well aware of what I created, what I brought to the industry, and I'm definitely not shying away from that. As a matter of fact, I'm extremely vocal about it, even more now than before. Because I say that, yeah, but with 20 years in the game, it's not that you can be more vocal, but you can at least be like, what, I'm sitting on that sit, and I made this my, it's my space. So
Yes. Yes.
but yeah, I think the accolades are being received from the people that are important. For the rest, they are important, but they're not giving it, and we're not looking for it in any way.
True. And you talked about healing, and so it kind of feels as though you've been on a journey that made you look back to look forward.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
absolutely.
When you say that you've kind of been able to put certain things aside, and look at where you are as opposed to where you thought you should be, how much help, because lots of people think that you can go through this process all by your lonesome. How much help, and did you draw on the people around you for that? Were you talking to friends, or was it just some introspection?
Me, I've always been an introspective guy, so I've learned very quickly that it's you can't really count much on people, and mm, you can't expect people to also be there for you when you need them. As much as it's nice, but the truth is that it's not possible. I mean, very few people can do that, and you can literally count them on one hand, probably a couple of fingers from one hand, but. Yes, I've learned to do that by myself for the most part, and I think that to a certain extent, especially as men, we have a tendency to overcompensate and act as though we are all this and we certainly are strong and all that. But you can't be strong if you don't embrace your weaknesses. It's like thinking that because you're big and you're this and you're that and you're fit and you're this and you're that, and you're always gonna have a weak spot somewhere. So you've got to know that weak spot. You've got to embrace that weak spot and work with it so that it doesn't become a liability in times of serious despair. So you have to be able to truly embrace all aspects of your personality, and it's not easy. It's not easy. One thing, however, I have to say that I think with the years, the more I grew to enter even more so into my actual skin as a man, as a grown man, um, is learning to also probably be more vocal about vulnerabilities that I probably would have not necessarily been vocal about. That I would have known internally, but I would have never voiced them necessarily.
Okay.
And I think that's really powerful to be able to speak freely and not feel held back by anything. You know.
And, and so, and as a creative, do you find that music, that outlet of music, helps that? Are you able to kind of express through music and then express personally, or is it a combination of the two?
It's a combination of the two nowadays, but I would say that mostly through music. I mean, my music speaks volume of a lot of my mental state, and psychological state or spiritual state. It will speak at length about where I'm at a given time, and I get to be extremely transparent with these feelings when I'm experimenting with art.
That's true, which is a good thing. It comes through. You touched on it ever so slightly. As an artist, you are someone that's very vocal about Africa and its music as a whole, and your music is a true reflection of the whole continent and not just where you came from.
Absolutely.
What was the impetus for that? Because you said you grew up in Central African Republic. Where did you get that kind of broad perspective? When did you become a Pan-Africanist? I suppose. I hope that it's okay to say that.
Absolutely. I was born and raised. My grandfather was a very important man in the world of politics in Central Africa, and he was a friend of some of the greats that have fought for the independence of several countries on the continent. And so, definitely being the grandson of such a remarkable man, and also the son of the father that I had, could only but enforce my desire and my need to dive deeper into the quest of what it meant to be an African, and also probably because of the fact that I'm not melanated. It probably pushed me to emphasize even more on the side, the side, the Africanness that you cannot see on my skin is what you can actually hear in my music. And so I felt like I wanted to bring the continent together in sound, through sounds, and house music offered that opportunity and allowed to give birth to this ancestral soul Afrohouse sound, in the form that we know it now.
Yes, yes, yes. So when you were first on your journey, you would have been one of very few that
The few of us, yeah.
that use sound in the way that you did. Yes, other people incorporated live percussion,
Sure.
but they weren't incorporating musicianship. You'd have someone from Senegal playing here, as well as somebody from another African country, and you could actually hear that melting pot. How was your music received initially outside of the continent?
I mean, my music was not received in the continent initially, anyway. So because I was in Belgium, so it came on the continent by way of Angola and South Africa, as a matter of fact. Actually, South Africa and Angola, because of Oshulade. Oshulade. So, in responding to the first part of your question regarding the musicianship, I think musicianship has always been present in tribal house or these kind of sounds. There's always been live drumming and stuff like that. That's been pretty much a classic sort of element going on. The element that I added was the more Afro, Central African syncopation with the snares. Snares were not used in the type of music we were doing back then
Yeah.
in the way I used them.
Okay.
It was used mostly in like sukus and makossa and dombolo and all these kind of sounds. But electronic music didn't have these syncopated snare drums. They would have the syncopation instead of using the snare drum. They would use the shakers and sounds like that. But snare drums not necessarily was the kind of swing that I was bringing. Um, as far as the sound being received on the continent, I think it's the diaspora that brought the sound back to the continent. Really, and it took quite some time. It took quite some time before I got acknowledged, um, and I was able to start traveling on the continent and DJing. But I remember the first person that brought my sound, at least to my knowledge, it could be someone else. There was actually two, DJ Fresh
Hmm.
and Oshunlade. They were the first ones to really. I mean, Oshunlade went there and dropped one of the songs that I did for him for his label called Bria's Offering, and that was a massive tune. Thank you. And so that really introduced me to the whole South African scene. That was really right when Afrohouse was really picking some serious win with the likes of Frank Roger, Manu, Charisma, etc., etc. Even though Charisma is more deep, maybe, but still he had this element of Africanness to his sound. So yeah, but it was well received, and obviously it started traveling through the continent, and also in the process of that, I was very underground and deep, and then I became a little bit more mainstream in a way I was, creating the sound. I had the chance to do work with the likes of Davido and the late DJ Arafat, with whom we've done this big hit called Noti. So obviously I transitioned into creating more accessible sounds, which allowed me more, access to the continent.
For me, it's your sound has. We're now at a place where African music across the world is standing front and center. And I think your music has helped that. We wouldn't have Afro beats where it was, and we wouldn't have Amapiano where it is looking to knock down the door right now if it wasn't for artists like yourself
Yeah,
that were bringing those Afro fusions. But you
true.
also you also looked at North America. You know, I think your sound traveled because you incorporated vocals that people just loved and adored with a sound that for many they were unfamiliar with.
Absolutely.
Those R&B bootlegs for some are their introduction to Boddhi Satva. It wasn't something like your Yoruba release. It was those
Yeah.
R&B bootlegs. So
Well, actually, you know what? Let me even say that talking about Yoruba, the man who inspired me to make these bootlegs was Oshunlade.
oh, okay.
Believe it or not, Oshunlade was already doing these bootlegs way before me. It's just that he was not doing it the way I did it in the sense that I turned them into a business, should I say? So I created projects and concepts out of those, you know, um, bootlegs. I was very well aware that if I wanted my sound to really go much bigger and for this Afro House Ancestral Soul sound to really get where I wanted it to get, I
Hmm.
needed to get these remixes done accordingly. So I started picking songs that were not too mainstream, but were mainstream enough, and or even if they were mainstream, but they would feel all right with me. Like I would still be able to play them.
Yeah.
And so that's how I started these Ancestral Soul interpretations mixtapes, which I'm actually gonna be working on a new one very soon. But yeah, so the Shula Day is the one that actually sparked that inspiration for me. He did a remix, a bootleg of Ciara's Promise um, that he dropped at the June many moons ago. And I remember I was at a club with my friend Abel Tabou, with whom we did Mwana Yemukiri, which was another single one of the first singles that actually introduced the Ancestral Soul sound and Afro House sound
Hmm.
in the way I was doing it. And so we were on the dance floor and we were like, what the hell is this? What? Like Oshulade just took that version to the next level.
Wow.
And so it automatically inspired me, and I was like, "All right, cool. I'm going to start doing these things because it's not easy to remix R&B and funk tracks because I did bootlegs of the likes of Jill Scott Heron and stuff like that, and artists like that. So it takes a bit of knowledge, and really digging into your records and knowing how to like bit map everything. It's a bit experimental, but yeah, it helps spread the sound and the name much faster.
So I would surmise then that it was those volumes, because I think there were 4 volumes in the end.
Yes, four. Yes, absolutely.
4 volumes, 4 amazing volumes I might have. If you
Thank
haven't,
you.
if you haven't gone out and listened to those R&B volumes, do so. If you are a lover of Bodhisattva, they are something that you have to hear. And as he just said, there's number 5 is on its way, so get ready for something special.
Yes, indeed.
Which takes us on nicely to what you're doing today. You've
Yeah.
just released a single on Antonello's label, Uncover Music, with a collaboration with Idd Aziz. What makes a label owner offering recordings, an amazing label, go off and
Thank you.
a hit record like that? Why would you give it to somebody else?
Well, because it's not my record. As a matter of fact, it's Antonello's record, and he's been very patient with me because I made him wait to do this record. But sometimes with me I can be super fast, but then sometimes I need to sit with a track, and I need to really sit with it a long time because it's just not coming to me yet.
Yeah.
Um, Quite sincerely, I wanted to do something that was familiar to what Idd Aziz had done, but definitely nothing like what he had done. Um, and so that required for me to take a bit of time to just meditate and sit on it, and not even look at it anymore, and having Antonello, text me like, "Hey, bro, what's up, man? You got up this for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, man,
It's
not
coming.
yet. It's coming. I'm not sure. No, not now. But it was very patient, and it paid off. It paid off because the fact that he was able to understand that I just needed more time for this record, and I think it shows.
That's one creative to another, and I have to say, yes, it does, because you've managed to get a vocal out of Idd Aziz that, like you say, sounds like nothing he's done before, which I think
Thank
is
you.
amazing. It's given him a spurt, and I played it. I played it 2 days ago, and the crowd went, "Is that Idd Aziz? It is. Oh my god!" Which is the
Nice.
reaction that you want. Exactly. It
Yes.
was most. It was most certainly the reaction that you want. So, did Antonella put the collaboration together, or did he come to you and say, "Can you do this record for me?" Or did you choose it?
No, I didn't. Actually, yes, I think he gave me like two or three records to choose from,
Hmm.
and at first, no, but that was a long time ago. That was probably 2 years ago. And I was like, no, I'm not 100% sure I can do much with those. Then there's like, I don't worry. Then there was this record with Idd Aziz that was, I think, in the pipeline. So he was like, look, I think this is right up your alley. You're gonna feel this, and I was like, oh yeah, I think I can do something with that now. So
Definitely,
that's how it happened.
definitely, because it most certainly has been kissed by the touch of Bodhisattva. If you haven't gone out and bought it yet, please do so. It came out last Friday on Uncover Music. It's an amazing collaboration between Bodhisattva and Idd Aziz, vocals, production, all on one piece of fantastic music. Get out there, grab it now. Body,
100%.
it's always amazing to catch up with you. And
Likewise, likewise. Thank you very much.
you've, I have to ask about this. You've just remixed Busi Malongo for Mz on Bomb Bomb.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
please.
Yeah,
That's
that's another one.
legendary vocalist. That must have been an honor.
Massive honor. Yeah, I was really, really. You know what? Z and I, we have a very, very old friendship. We go back. in the days of Mawelele when he dropped that on Ultra Records, and Z and I have really nurtured and developed a very very good friendship. Actually, it's a brotherly relationship that we have, and every time he's working on an album, he lets me hear the album before anyone. I was like, so what do you think? He plays the tunes for me, and I was like, yeah, cool, this one, yeah, maybe not. But the album that he just dropped was just like, yeah, everything was just on point. And there was this record that he did with Busi Longo, and I was like, yo, boss, I need to remix this one. I was like, say no more.
Love that. Love that. And another sterling body piece, another sterling piece from Body
Thank you.
Satva. And you're listening to Drums Radio. We have Boddhi Satva in the hot seat. Two fantastic new records out. One on Uncover Music, a collaboration with Idd Aziz. Boy, what's the record called?
It's called the Shina.
I, I didn't know how to pronounce it, so I know I dropped it like that. Thank you very much. Second piece is a remix for MZ's Bomba. And if you are living in the UK, Boddhi is going to be back in London on the 17th of September with none other than Shimza.
Yes, indeed.
Boddhi, he comes to London and he tears it up. Oh, are you looking forward to coming? Because we can't wait for you to get back here.
I am. I look forward to it, and it's been quite a moment of non-performing. So I hope that I'm not too rusted, and I'll be able to give you guys and gals, you know, the right level of energy, and
Oh,
bring that peace, love, and light. Ancestral soul way.
yes, indeed. The ancestors will be partying with us on the 17th
Amen.
down at Power in London. Can't wait to have you back on these shores. Can't wait to sit down and talk some more business. I have to say, if you haven't listened to Clubhouse Talks on Thursday, Boddhi moderates alongside Lunga and Mr. Silk some amazing information for young producers. I wanted to ask, because Clubhouse is only Clubhouse and you're there, how do we make that information available for everybody?
As I was suggesting to Silk and Lunga some weeks ago, I said we should take it to YouTube, because the problem with Clubhouse is that there's no record
Yes.
of what is being shared, right? And there's been quite some amazing informations that have been, exchanged uh, so many times, as a matter of fact, since the inception of the whole thing. So it is, I think, sound to consider taking the show to YouTube, because it will also drive a different audience, but also force people to kind of like come out of their slightly comfortable zone of Clubhouse, which is indeed a very nice environment, because you don't really have to be like watching any screen or anything like that. But then the advantage is that if you put it on YouTube, you can automatically, like, for example, we're doing this via StreamYard. You can download the audio and upload it as a podcast. So
Yes.
it makes absolute sense. It's actually more beneficial than anything. So I think I would suggest this would be a greater way, a great approach to actually having record of these
Okay.
conversations.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So you hinted at some R&B bootlegs.
Yeah.
Tease us. What can we expect, please? Just a small thing.
Oh gosh. Quite sincerely, I don't know. I might be doing something right quick before London, but right now what I've been focused on is working on finalizing my third album, which I'm literally busy doing right now. I'm almost completing the whole album. I have like four more songs to go.
Oh wow. Do you have a
Um,
title yet?
yeah, it's called Manifestation, and
Man- oh, that's the third in the trilogy.
that's the third in the trilogy,
Yeah.
indeed. Yeah,
Yeah.
closing the trilogy, and I just got the album cover yesterday from my good friend Omar Victor Job. One of the most sought after photographer in the world, and good friend of mine, Senegal very own, who blessed me with not only the photo shoot but also the design of the artwork. And
Nice.
um, it's a beautiful body of work, but beautiful. Like, I mean, the music is good. Is a feel good kind of album. It really is the closing of the trilogy. So I wanted it to be like, like when you take a deep breath in and you breathe out, and just feel relaxed. And that's what the album is about. It's like
Oh,
it's manifested. Like I am in my comfort zone. I am seated on my throne, and can't no vampire move that. So
yes.
we're about that. We're about
Satisfaction.
that line of Judah fire.
Ah! Any collaborations that we should look out for?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have Raheem Devon. I have
Nice.
Zaki Ibrahim. I have
Nice.
Dino de Santiago,
Ooh.
Keisha, Badi, Noah Slee. Man, there's 30 songs on that album. So
Oh,
um,
it's an
at
opus.
jazz, yeah, there's a couple of folks.
Oh.
Bilal, I got Bilal as well. Yeah, it's a massive piece.
So there's some people, there's quite a few people that you've worked with before. So
Absolutely.
is this like is manifestation? Is it like
Yeah.
the end of of one particular journey onto the next?
Yes,
It's more.
it's a closing and an introduction.
Oh, lovely.
So
That
it really is about that.
so you heard it here first, right here on Drums Radio. Boddhi Satva has shared with you that there is going to be some new. Hey, so does that mean we're going to tease? There's going to be a change in the sound. What is this new approach?
The new approach is interesting. Obviously, I've inspired myself from I really like that whole Amapiano sound. So I think you're gonna hear about 4 or 5 songs that are in that kind of tonality.
Oh,
But
lovely.
for the most part, it's that Boddhi Satva Ancestral Soul sound, that Afrohouse sound, and but it's very 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 mature. The composition is really, I have to say, really really elaborated. Like I am feeling like I've grown into my musicality even more. I took quite some time to understand my key progressions, and I'm a lover of the studio. I love DJing, but I really love studio more than anything. Because composing and making music is something that I get a kick out of. So as much as I do from DJing, you can't. It's like asking me which child you feel like the most. Like it's impossible. But if there's one that does better than the other, it's possible. That doesn't mean that the other cannot do as good as the one that's doing better. But for now, DJing being a bit between parentheses right now, production is really where it's at. So
So, as a producer, does the DJing give you an inkling? Does the DJing help you in the studio or not?
yes, of course it does, because you get to see the trends, you get to understand what's being played, what the sound tendencies are. You also get to understand um, the repetition of sounds. People think they're doing new stuff, and you're like, damn, 15 years ago, this was something that XYZ was, I was already doing. Like, it's funny, the whole Afrotech sound is something that is not new at all. Like, it's been done before, but the good thing is that it's evolved to become something new. So yes, in that sense, I understand. There's quite a lot of new, like in the way they're building tracks, and
Hmm.
the use of the different sounds. But you know, um, I love the fact that there is creativity, and there is innovation. So definitely going out and or at least listening to other DJs, and again, not feeling too good or too cool for school
Yeah,
is always going to help you, gain more knowledge.
indeed. So, where can people find you on social so that they can get wind of all of this great new music that is coming out?
Well, they can follow me on Instagram, Bodhisattva Official, Twitter, Ancestral Bodhi. They can check me on YouTube as well, Bodhisattva. And yeah, that's that. I don't really use Facebook, so if people send me messages on Facebook, like, this is not a place to interact with me. As a matter of fact, um, I don't like Facebook at all. Okay, I don't think the platform is absolutely disgusting, and it's not user friendly at all.
Okay, okay.
So you're not going to see
I'd
me
have
there
to
much.
say,
But yeah,
I agree. I agree.
yeah, you feel me, right? It's like it's so complicated.
But talking of complications in social media, TikTok. If
Mm,
if we it's come up in Clubhouse a few times. If if we're going to stay relevant, we have to go where our audience is moving to? What is it that you're going to be doing for TikTok, for platforms like TikTok, where there is that younger audience that loves the music that maybe we don't necessarily speak to yet?
Sorry, my connection was acting up. So what am I going to be doing for platforms like TikTok?
Hmm.
Um, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Thriller, I have all these apps, I'm on Snapchat, I have all of these accounts, but I'm trying to figure out how to make it work for me in a way that's um, not as burdening as it feels whenever I have to post on these platforms because I don't have the time to do all this work that these people are doing, and I think that there's some very talented folks out there, and TikTok doesn't have only just these um, dance challenges and stuff. There's also like people doing like a lot of informational stuff when it comes to like, for example, finances, etc. There's just so many things you can learn. You can find out. It's like a never-ending offer of choices, and you've got to be able to know how you're going to be catering to the kind of viewers there, while still not being overwhelmed by the content that you need to be posting. Because I mean, if you think about it, you got to post on Instagram, you got to post on Twitter, you got to post on Facebook, you got to post on YouTube. Now YouTube has the YouTube post and the YouTube stories.
Yeah.
You've got to post on Snapchat, you got to post on TikTok. There's a lot of things. So yes, I'm going to be doing dance challenges and stuff like that. We're going to have a couple of challenges going on, and we have to indeed move where the consumers are. But I don't know if the consumers of our sound on Twitter, on TikTok necessarily.
Okay.
um I would actually suspect and say that we have an opportunity to tap into a completely new sort of audience,
Younger.
certainly younger, because I mean I've seen a couple of hundred people using my songs there, and they're
Okay.
like from Malaysia, from like Cambodia, like Uzbekistan, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. How the sound is traveling.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Body, it's been real. I have to say thank you. I
thank
look
you.
forward. I'm looking forward for when you get to London. And we'll send you
Likewise.
a record. Folks, you've been listening to Drums Radio. This is the legendary Boddhi Satva. As I said, if you haven't, if you hadn't actively gone out and sought a Boddhi Satva record, now's the time before he gets to London. If you're based in London, go and get your fill so that you are ready for when he blesses you with flavor after flavor. Strictly Bridge, where I'm going to be in London on the 17th of September. He's the one and only Bodhisattva. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Boss.
Absolutely.